Today I'm going to show you how to prepare your score for Lamento della ninfa. Hey future All-Staters, I'm Scott LaGraff, Professor of Voice at Stephen F. Austin State University, and this is All-State Diction Tips. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to help you prepare your score for Lamento della ninfa. Now, Italian is not as difficult to pronounce as German or French. In fact, it's a whole lot like Latin, but it does have its own idiosyncrasies. And I found that preparing your score ahead of time makes it a lot easier to deal with these. So I'm going to show you how I do that in my score. We start to see some of these idiosyncrasies right away in measure 2. Now, if you look at the downbeat of measure 2, you're going to see a quarter note written in your score. You can see that in my score on the tenor 1 and tenor 2 lines. But if you look down at the bass line, you're going to see that I've written in 2/8 notes. That's because we actually pronounce both vowels in that word. So what I want you to do is I want you to write in 2/8 notes and know that each vowel is going to get an 8th note. Non avea. Now on the next beat, you see febo and then a little kind of a tie mark connecting to ancora. What that means is that you have to pronounce both bo and on that 16th note. Look at the original notation in the tenor 1 and tenor 2 parts. It's written as a 16th note, but if you look down in the bass part, you'll see that I have written in 2 32nd notes, and then each of those syllables is going to go on one of those notes. Measure 3, you see it happens again. You see the end of recato tied to al. We'll take that original quarter note and we're going to make it into 2/8 notes. And you'll notice that I did the same thing on doil, right? Each gets a 16th note. Our next example comes in measure 6. Again, if you look at the tenor 1 and tenor 2 parts, you're going to see 2 half notes. But we also see the end of proprio tied to the beginning of albergo, and then we see the end of albergo tied to the beginning of usci. You know the drill by now. We're going to take that second half note in measure 6. We're going to make it into 2 quarter notes, and we're going to sing 1 syllable on each, okay? And then we're going to take that quarter note at the end of measure 7, and we're going to make it into 2/8 notes, and each of those syllables gets its own note. Look now in measure 10 on scorgea, okay? Gea, 2 vowel sounds, so you need to write in an 1/8 or 2/8 notes on that beat. And then take a look in measure 11. Suo is 2 vowel sounds. So you can see what I've done. I've crossed out the dot and I've written in another quarter note, okay? So we're going to put the half note on su, and we're going to put o on the first quarter note and do on that second already written quarter note, okay? Now, take a look at page 4 and measure 19. Now, this whole section is imitative, okay? So I'm of course, going to be focusing on the bass part, but the exact same thing happens in the other lines, just doesn't happen at the exact same time. So look at measure 19. You see, again, one of those little tie marks, right? Errava or qua or la. So we're going to take that 8th note on va or, and we're going to write 2 16th notes. Each of those syllables gets its own note. Every time that appears, that's how you're going to handle it. Look now in the bass part at the end of measure 22 into measure 23, and you're going to see perduti amori. That 8th note becomes 2 16th notes. Again, every time this appears, that's how you're going to handle it. Go mark your scores, and then in the next video, I will do a rhythmic reading. See you next time.